club development consultant with LCI. So I am available to come in and help develop new clubs and ideas. So youth programs. I talked about that we have a club that is focused on youth, but what does that mean? How do we actually go about doing that? So I call it raising the next generation, our District 22D. So you got the little bit of the backstory of how we were formed. And we were 2 weeks ago at 124 members, we're now at 126, so I need to update the slide. But I just want to show you what a week in the life of the Bellefonte Lions looks like. So on Monday night, we have the Future Leaders Basketball Association. It is a team practice for 80 middle school aged girls, founded by Lions in partnership with. We found someone who was a basketball coach and realized that there was a whole bunch of middle school girls that couldn't make the team because their local middle school has one team and 10 kids play. So in partnership with a community center, they let us use their gym. What we do is they have about 45 minutes of Lions Quest, which is a social emotional learning program. If you're not familiar with it, it is an incredible program. You can get grants from LCIF to help you get started. As a brand new Lion, I wrote 3 of them, and we have now brought in about $27,000 into our district to help sponsor youth programs. And I just had a meeting where we're looking at the $75,000 one, which is the next one. So if you're interested in learning how to get money for youth programming, please, before we leave today, talk to me about that. So that's Monday night. On Tuesday night is art class. We have Art is Life. Essentially speaking, I found a Lion, an artist in the community, who, when I met him, I said, so what are you passionate about? He said, oh, I'm passionate about art and maybe teaching kids. I said, that's amazing. He says, why is that? I said, because that's exactly what Lions do. And he said, really? I said, well, we do now. And so every Tuesday night we have an art class where the youth in our community can come and learn art. Now, the interesting thing is our meetings are also on Tuesday nights, which allow us to actually have all of the youth be able to come to our meeting, and they break bread with us, and then they go in the next room and an art teacher teaches them art. So that's Tuesday night. Wednesday night is our Gloves Against Drugs program. It is boxing, physical fitness, and life skills, Lions Quest. Now, once again, I found somebody who had a boxing gym. And I said, hey, why don't you become a Lion? Your way of serving the community could be teaching kids physical fitness and drug prevention, right? So every Wednesday, our youth go out and participate in boxing. Thursday night, as I mentioned previously, is our chess club. We now have 2 locations of chess club in the community, so we've expanded just from the one. Friday night, we have farmers markets. So the local community center has a farmers market over the summer that meets every Friday, and we set up a table and we volunteer, and our youth help that on Fridays. And we also then have our Leo club meetings. And then on Saturdays, it's field trips and service. So we took them to the Delaware State Fair, we took them to an art exhibit, and then this is actually us walking around, cleaning up the community, when I mentioned with the bike club. So we have 6 days of service every single week. Now that sounds like a lot, and that sounds like that would burn out any club. Well, if you get to 126 members, it's really just one person doing maybe 1 or 2 things a month, right? We share the rotation. So every single one of our service projects was built around the youth. We found out what the youth needed, and then we created a project around that. So we are very atypical from your normal Lions Club, Because in this entire thing, what is the one thing you've not heard me mention? Fundraising. So, it doesn't cost money to spend time with kids. That's the basic. Now, do some of these things cost money? Sure. But our basic idea was that let's just start with spending time with kids. It's a homework help club. What do you need, right? So let's find a way to spend time with them. Now, we now do fundraising, but then a lot of what we do here are then supported in partnership with. So we find the local church that was looking for help with something, and then they're willing to maybe provide us a space to meet. So the question, though, is building for the future. How do we get from there to here? It's really easy to, once you've done something, to get up and say, oh, it's so easy, we do all of this stuff. A lot of the times I go to presentations and the person who gives the presentation is just like, well, you can do it. Now go home and do it. Well, how do I do that? So I break it down, because my background is an educator in community development. So I want to talk about the foundations of success for engaging youth. And this is a step-by-step process which every single person in this room could do. It's called asset-based community development. Okay? It's the ABCDs of community work. And it's a theory that has been around for a long time. So it is actually part of the theory that was first used to establish this association over 100 years ago. We're just going back to the roots. So here's the foundational truths of asset-based community development. 1, everyone has gifts. 2, everyone has something to contribute. And 3, everyone cares about something, and that passion is his or her motivation to act. So, just for an instance here, is there someone in this room that has a gift or a skill? Anything? What? Do you have a gift or a skill? I saw you nodding your head.
Teaching.
Teaching, okay. So, can teaching be service? Right. So, in our case, it was finding someone who played basketball. We found someone who, a woman, her Lion Jill, who played basketball, and she wished she could teach young girls how to play basketball. That was it. That was the gift that she had. That was her passion. And then your club, your way, we made our Lions Club about that, right? Now, I know it doesn't fit into the 5 service areas, but the interesting thing is, if you start with what people are passionate about and connect that to Lions, they begun to become passionate about Lions. So all of these new members that we get recruited doing all of these unorthodox things, well, we now do vision screening, right? We didn't start with vision screening. If I had taken a big drum and walked around my community and banged on the drum and said, come join my vision screening club, come join my vision screening club, we are Knights of the Blind, it would just be me. And that's not a bad thing. That's just a recognition of sometimes you have to adapt to what the actual needs are. Now, the fact that we have this long tradition with vision screening, and once people get to screen their first kid, well, they have that moment. But I couldn't get them to that moment unless I had done this asset-based community development. So, the theory is, you discover the strengths within your community. Once you have discovered potential strengths, you do what is called asset mapping. So that was in my last presentation when I was talking about writing down a list of all the local organizations. So what are the strengths, right? If you're in when I do this presentation, then some people say, well, it's great, you have a community center. We're in a town of population 800. We don't have a community center. What are we supposed to do? Well, I bet your town of 800 has about 5 churches, right? Right. So finding those partners that you can write what those strengths are. So you then link and mobilize. You say, in partnership with, we are going to work together. And then all of the initiatives come from the community-driven needs. Our community determines 100% what our agenda is. Because we work with them, and we listen to them, and we talk to them. And so when someone said to us, we got a whole bunch of kids who are failing math. Okay, then tell them to come by at 4 o'clock and we're going to teach math. That's what our Lions Club does. I am horrible at math, but I'm willing to look it up and hopefully be smarter than a kindergartner, right? When it comes to this. So it's all based off of the actual need. And when you go back to that core, where is there a need? And this is something that PDG had said in his membership. You got to know what that need in your community is. There are some amazing clubs that I have visited that are still doing the same service project that they did when my grandfather was alive. And they haven't changed it. And that can be a good thing, but if you don't ever stop to reassess, you might have, somewhere along the way, lost connection with what your community needs. So, mapping your strengths and assets, building relationships. Now, convening the community to develop a vision and a plan. Have you guys ever had just an event where you just invite people to come out to your Lions Club to talk to you? Just have a dinner. Something where it's not a fundraiser. Something where you're willing to take a little dollars out of your administrative to host something for the community and invite people to a free meal just to break bread. And don't do the hard sale of, now that you're here, join our club, join our club. Just say, we're here, we're the Lions. What would you guys like from your service? And that's one of the pieces. When I recruit people, I don't ever do the hard sale. I'm not pushing, I'm not saying you have to. I'm asking them what they care about, and then whatever they care about, I'm connecting that to what Lions is. So how do you implement this? So, one, challenge everyone to be a leader. Like I mentioned, when we have a new member, we ask them what they're passionate about. We make that a new service project. We then empower them to do that. We'll be surprised at what comes out. We had a new member who came in, and I think she was maybe 25 or 26, and she got up in front of the club and she said, I've got an idea. I want to do Lion Lovegrams. I said, what's a Lion Lovegram? She said, well, school is starting, and there's a whole bunch of young kids going into elementary and middle school for the first time. And if you remember way back in the day, that's a scary thing for a kid. So let's all write cards saying that you're awesome, and color them and draw hearts and say the Lions support you. And let's all take our yellow vests and talk to the school and ask if the school on that first day of school, we can stand out in front of that school, and as the kids come in on the first day, we can high five them and give them a card saying that they're awesome. I would have never thought of that service project in my entire life. It is now one of our most popular service projects. We got more publicity out of doing that than a whole lot of the other things we did. Because who was standing there watching their children start on that first day? The parents. Who said, who are those people making my kid feel awesome? It's the Lions. Well, maybe that's something I should be a part of, right? I mean, that's a very direct, easy, simple thing. And turning back to the concept of making service a part of every single meeting, those cards that's a real easy, just have them sitting on the table. And I also get a lot of times, well, we have members who are in their late 70s and early 80s. There's not a lot of physical work that they can do. Some of them are disabled. That's something you can do from a wheelchair. I mean, we had someone's grandmother who we wheeled right up next to, and she just waved at everybody as they came in, and it made her feel like alive again. Because a lot of the service you can't do. So what are the things that we can identify that our older members can do with younger members that will impact and import them? Now, here's where we get into theories. And I'm a theory person, but I like theories and actions. And this is a really interesting thing, okay? Needs-based versus asset-based. Lions Clubs International is a needs-based association now. It is. We focus on the deficiencies. We say what is wrong in the community that we can fix. People are then the consumers of our service. So we are serving people. Community members observe as issues are being addressed. So let's just take vision screening. That's a needs-based. It's not a bad thing, but we see that there's a need for vision screening. We see that there's a deficiency that other people aren't doing it. The people we screen then become our consumers of our service. And then the community members will see a picture of us doing screening and say, yes, you help my kids, but where have we involved them in that process? Needs-based does not involve the community. We serve the community. Now, the difference between needs-based and asset-based. So asset-based focuses on the effectiveness. It focuses on what are the strengths, right? Not what's wrong. So when I looked at my community and I said asset-based, instead of saying, here is all the problems with the youth, I said, here are all the potential strengths that could serve these youth. And then we involve that because the people then become the producers of the service. And community members participate and are empowered. So on our chess club, I invited the parents and grandparents to come and learn to play with their kids. I said, hey, you know what? We'll buy pizza. Pizza is the secret to working with youth. I mean, the difference, I will be 100% honest, a lot of the youth first came to some of our projects because I served pizza. And they knew on Thursday night, they could get a slice of pepperoni pizza. They came for the pizza, they stayed for the service, they became Leos, and now they're becoming Lions. And if I got to order a couple pepperoni pizzas to recruit another 20 Lions, you just call Domino's right now, right? So the interesting thing is many of the kids we serve in a, as you might be able to tell from some of our pictures, we serve in an urban area that is very underserved. So a lot of times that was the meal that they were getting. And because they were getting that meal, then Lions are the people who are feeding them and breaking bread with them. And we have at every single, I mean, it's amazing when we take these kids out somewhere, like, it doesn't matter if we're at McDonald's or whatever it is, because they have been raised in this, they literally, I was sitting off at a table where the other youth, there's about 30 youth that we had got them food and they were eating and they were getting ready to start, and they said, Lion Daniel, you gotta come over here. I said, why? I said, because we have to pray together. I said, okay. He said, well, we're a family and families pray together, right? And that moment that you're taking 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds and you're out in the middle of public and they're saying the Lion's blessing, you know, that's a moment in which you created community by being there for the youth. So, the old saying, where there is a need, there is a lion, I would change it. Where there is an asset, there is a potential new lion. So I look for the potential assets in the community. And I do what is called strategic recruitment. So I look for people who are already serving. I look for people who are already busy. And we are just offering to help assist them in some ways. So we have in my club, it's the executive directors from all of the community centers in the area, the director of prevention, the director of education, the school guidance counselor, the nurse, all people who professionally then serve youth, have come together in this Lions Club. Now, back when the association was started, we were a business association, right? And it was people who came together and they did networking. They also did service, but there was a networking aspect. So if you are bringing people together in your community who professionally serve and create your club as that hub of networking, we then have people who want to come join our club to be able to get access to the network of services that we offer. And as long as they are coming and they're serving and they're paying their dues and they're showing up at events, well, that's a wonderful thing, because then they bring more to the table. So it is a process that, if you begin, slowly begins to grow. So I mentioned the bike club. So this was the first time that they all had their bikes. And to be able to take a group of kids who none of them had bikes, and to be able to say, we found this woman right here, so it's Lion Lisa, now Lion Lisa. Her grandfather was a lion, her father was a lion. There was no way in heck she was joining the Lions Club. Nope, didn't want to do it. Her grandfather and father had tried to recruit her since the age of 5, essentially. We talked to her. She is a bike rider. She is passionate about riding bikes. And we said, your service could be riding bikes with these kids. She is now a lion. Now, she didn't join her parents' and grandparents' club, but because we connected it to something that she was passionate about. So let's take this ABCD that I talked about and apply it directly to this service project. So where there's a need, we noticed the lack of transport options in the neighborhood and heard from kids who wanted to ride bikes. We did asset mapping. So we had kids who are interested in biking. We had lions who bike. We had a place to meet and a storage shed. Well, that's what we needed as the beginning of a bike club. So then we built relationships with. So we then posted on Facebook and said, hey, do you have a bike from a grandson that has now gone off to college? And we got bikes donated. So most of our bikes, we actually ended up coming from just members of the community. So we recruited first 25, and then that grew. So we developed a vision plan, and here's the interesting thing. So we actually empowered the youth to say that you're going to run the bike club. So they have a bike club president, a bike club secretary, a bike club treasurer. We took Robert's Rules of Orders and started teaching this, and then said, hey, guess what? Let's get bike club vests. And so that we got them little vests, which happened to be yellow. And then if you do enough service points, we'll give you a bike club pin. So as you can see, we're starting and getting them into the culture of Lions without actually saying, hey, this is what we are doing. We found funds from an American Lung Association, and this is an interesting thing. How many of your clubs are 501c3s? Okay? Every single one of you can be writing for grants. Grants outside of LCIF. It doesn't take a whole special grant writer. I am available at any time. Shoot me an email. I will take a look at something or show you a working version of something. Because as a 501c3, there's a whole lot of money out there. So we wrote a grant for the American Lung Association. And the American Lung Association gives away $15,000 every October to a whole bunch of organizations. All you have to be is a 501c3. And it's about maybe a 3 or 4 page application. And all they want to know is, how are you engaging youth in a physical activity, and are you going to talk to them about the dangers of smoking? Well, that's a bike club. All we had to do was add in 15 minutes of don't smoke and here's the dangers of smoking. And we got $15,000 to be able to do that, which any club that is a 501c3 can start to think like that, to be able to look at these other sources of funding. It would take us 4 or 5 pancake breakfasts to raise that money. But instead, we wrote 3 or 4 pages and they sent it to us. So the unexpected benefits of this, of course, the bike club members volunteered to earn their bikes and turned into Leos. So how to do this? Where there's a need, so have club members or staff at a local church or community center or school that are aware of a youth need, or is there a current youth program that lacks volunteers? And I know, and sometimes it is, it's almost thinking the opposite way of saying, we need members, so we're going to go help someone else, right? Well, other people need help. And if you actually go and you volunteer and you are just, you're working hard, I mean, at least in our case, they were so grateful that we showed up. They were so grateful for the Lions that when it came time to put an application in their hand, they signed it willingly. Because we had shown them, you know, the nature of our hearts. So find a need and actually go out and help in some way. And it doesn't, you know, that's not something that necessarily requires a check. It just requires some time. So gauge the local interest. If you have someone who is a teacher, great. There's this Lions Quest program I mentioned before. Anywhere that you have a group of youth that can meet on a regular basis is a place where you can have the Lions Quest program. That's it. It used to be when they first rolled it out, they did a big push to say it has to be in schools. We have to be in schools. Well, in Delaware, we couldn't get it into schools. We had people who tried for 10 years and couldn't get into the schools. So when I came along, I said, I can't get into the schools, but I've got a bunch of kids who ride bikes. Can we do that? And the Lions Quest office at Oak Brook said, absolutely. And the amazing thing is, we did it with the kids with our outside programs, who then went back to their schools and went to the school guidance counselors and said, have you heard about this Lions Quest program? It's great. And suddenly we were getting a call. We went from it not being in a single school in Delaware, where an entire school district of 14,000 youth has just adopted Lions Quest. And this is a program run by Lions Clubs International Foundation that has Lions logo on the back of every single book, that has a built-in community service learning. That's raising the next generation. It teaches kids how to make responsible decisions and teaches kids how to volunteer. And as part of the actual curriculum, it says, contact your local Lions Club to find an event. So that's something that, you know, anybody can do as long as you have a place where kids can meet. So finding ways to get information out there. How do you get it to the youth? Well, for us it was to walk around and just say, hey, what are you guys doing? And that's sometimes hard, but if you have grandkids, ask them what's the best way to get information. If you have you know, people who are connected, a lot of clubs have people who are some way connected to a school district or a youth ministry. Youth ministry is a great place to find the basis of these things. Always support and empower youth leadership to help develop and run the program. And I can't stress that enough. If there are decisions involving youth being made, youth have to be a part of those decisions. And the more you empower them, the more that they will feel that they actually want to be a part of this. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, we want the youth involved, and when the youth show up, they then present them with a list of everything they want to do. I won't mention what district I was in, but I was at a district that had someone who had been a Leo from the age of 15. He had then at 18 joined a campus club. He had joined his campus club, had served in his campus club. He came out and had become a president of the club that he was in, and he had just become zone chair at the age of 30. And I was at one of these conferences, and I saw a past district governor who walked up to him and says, you know, you're our future. In another 20, 25 years, you'll make a great district governor. Excuse me? He's got 15 years in the association. He may have started as a Leo, but you're literally saying, and that's more than anything, why I'm so grateful to the leadership in my district, because I've been a Lion for 2.5 years, okay? The fact that they empowered and said it's okay. I mean, I just got asked to run for second vice district governor, 2.5 years into the association. Now, there are quite a lot of people who would say, oh, you know, you got to do your 10 years. At what magical point does there suddenly a switch flip that I have served enough pancake breakfasts in order to try and run, you know, a club, right? So empower the youth as early as possible. You know, the fact that your district governor was asking a Leo to sit on the cabinet, that's a great idea. I mean, who knows what they'll have to input, but at least having the youth at the table, maybe that's something that they can put down on, you know, as part of the reason that it inspires them. So leveraging resources, you know, other funds, and so here's the one thing that I've left out. Space. Every program needs a space. All of the things that you saw pictures of us doing are possible because we have a space to meet in. So what do you do if you don't have a space? Is there anyone in here that has a club that doesn't have access to any sort of space whatsoever? Most of you have access to spaces, right? Well, in some places, a space is any place youth can gather. If it's summertime, a park is a space. Libraries are a great space. Partner with your local library. There is, in District 22W, they do this thing called Lions Roar, where they go out and they partner with all of the local libraries. And then what they do is they create an assembly line of service so that they have clubs show up on a day at each of these libraries and have just a row of easy to put together service projects. Whether or not it's the cards that I've mentioned, or it's decorating pillows for children at the pediatric cancer ward, or putting together these little blankets. And then they have the local libraries promote that day of service to all of the schools, because most high school students now need service hours, right? So the Lions, all they have to do is show up at their local library, and then people come to them to serve. And in one day, because of their partnership, they had almost, I want to say like 3,300 people serve, who showed up at 6 or 7 different libraries throughout their district. So it started with one library. Their district governor is the guy who started it, so he's expanded it, and he's looking to expand this. So to be able to have service where it's a service in a place where other people can come in. And that's part of when you look at all the studies that show, you know, what do millennials like? Well, they may like to volunteer just for a day for something. It's maybe not a full-time commitment, but that one day of service with the Lions might be planting a seed where at a later point in time, they want to come back and join. So providing opportunities like that, where other people can come and serve with you, where it's just not your club. So you find a public space and you create service for others in that space. Now, I talked about being in partnership with, and I talked about the different community sectors in the last one. But an example. So, I sponsored the first Muslim Lion in the state of Delaware. That was an interesting experience. And this woman, her name is Lion Hayat. She's right here in the front. She works at a foundation called the Zakat Foundation, which is a Muslim service community center. Their youth of that community center have each of them won the Presidential Award for Service, the United States Presidential Award for Service, every single year since the age of 9. They put in over 300 hours of service every single year. And they were doing this completely on their own. Because I was willing to extend the invite to one, she brought them all. And so they actually now have their own Leo club. We formed a branch. So that one Lion turned into an additional 18 lions, which has changed the face of what lionism looks like in our district. So our demographics have shifted significantly, and the amount of service that we do has increased with the partnerships. So the question becomes then, that's a lot. How do you maintain and sustain while you grow? Well, it's a matter of knowing your limits. So we sit around and regularly touch base and ask ourselves, are we trying to do too much? Because you don't want to burn people out. You can see we're doing a whole lot. The question I get asked more than anything is, do you ever sleep? And of course, because I've got a whole team of people, and I've got a wife who, was my first recruit, and she supports me in absolutely everything that I do, and without her support, none of it would be possible. But so knowing your limits, pacing, and asking yourself, because you don't have to go from 0 to 60. You can just add one thing at a time and hope that it naturally grows. It is important to promote your activities. There was a great Leo presentation on social media, but if you're not using social media, start Facebook. The only thing I use Facebook for is for Lions. The only people who are on my Facebook are members of my community and Lions. And as a result, when I do a post on something, it gets shared around the world. And the really cool thing is I can take a picture of these young girls right here, who are 2 of our Leos, and I can take a picture of them at a community event, and I can share it. And then there will be Lions from like Togo and India and California who all say, way to go. So then I can go back to these young women and say, look, your service is appreciated all around the world. And for kids who can't imagine ever leaving the neighborhood that they're in, being able to show them by doing this service that they're global. And this young girl right here, this is Leo Harmony. I did a challenge with her, and I said, I will buy you dinner at any place that you want if you can pick a country that lions aren't in. And she went to Google, it was like China, lions in China. Egypt, lions in Egypt. So showing this global, so now she thinks like lions is the most amazing thing. She got me though, Antarctica. I gladly bought that. So in partnership with something I just, I'm coming to the close, I just want to show this. So we formed a partnership with our local police department. We created what is known as the Police and Princess Ball. So we go out and to all of the underserved youth, young women in our community. And we found somebody who was willing to donate prom dresses. And we found a place that was willing to give us access to a ballroom. And we said to the police, we said, we'd love to do an event with you in which you guys come in as like knights on riding on horses and turn these young women into princesses for the evening. And they do. And we're going into our 3rd year. And we have, it's the county police, the state police, the probation, every single police entity, when they heard about what we were doing, they said, of course, we'll gladly do this. And the amazing thing is, this didn't cost us a single penny. When people heard the idea that we want to take these young underserved girls and give them a chance to tell them that they feel beautiful, and then create good community police relationships. Because now it's no longer the police officer who might have come in and be trying to arrest somebody in their community. It's the police officer who turned your daughter or your sister or your cousin into a princess this evening. And Lions, of course, are at the heart of it. And we started with Officer Tracy Duffy, who is Lion Officer Tracy Duffy. She's up in the corner there. And now all of the committee of the police departments joined our Lions Club as part to do this. And I just want to, let's see if I can get it to play here. You can hear the music, but it's not necessary. So this is actually the dress selection This is the night of all of these young girls. So we had 80. And this is the party limo bus that the person, because they found out we were going to make a video and promote this, they gladly gave us, where all these girls got on. And every single adult that you see in this video is now a Lion. I was just riding to the event. And then all of the girls are escorted in. Each of them gets their own police officer escort as you walk in to the room. And here's the amazing thing. When you walk in to the ballroom, they are greeted by the Lions, who all give them white roses. And that's our sponsoring Lions Club, the Claymont Lions. So they get this amazing press. That was past International Director Joe Gaffigan, who was in the front there. That is our local congresswoman, who, when she heard what we were doing, was like, yes, I will come out and dance with these girls all night long. As you can see, the guest speaker talking about Lions, right? This is a moment that these children will never forget. They talk about it every year. They can't wait till the next one. I don't know about you, but for us, it is so hard to get on the news doing our Lions stuff. We had every news channel in Delaware out there covering what we were doing. And I can guarantee you, out of this group of young women, quite a few of them are going to grow up to be Lions. Because Lions were the ones who made this possible. And they get to keep the dresses, too. Made in partnership with. So that is my time. I am Lion Murray Elkins. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah, it was truly a pleasure to be here with you guys.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm sorry, this was just awesome. I hate to ask a very practical question.
Yes.
But what do you do as far as background checks for being?
For all the kids,
all
every single thing goes through the community center background check. That we don't play with that stuff. My experience as a teacher, and if we're going to have work with kids, so when you join our club, if you are volunteering with the youth, you have to go through a background check. That's not a question, and that's a great practical question because you can't take any chances on that type of stuff. And so we have additional volunteer waiver that goes on top of it. And so essentially speaking, we do the background check, we do the sexual, we do the full check on everybody. And that's, the people who want to work with the kids are then willing to pay. For us, it's about $35 to get the check done. But that, yes, if you are having people work with youth, you have to. Now, so many of us are already professional that we have that. So I mean, whenever I walk into a school, I have my whole FBI background check and say, here you go, fingerprints and everything I've ever done. But yes, that's something you must. And that's part of the reason why we then partner with the police department, who then helps expedite and make sure that the people that we're working with. We have had somebody, and this is just when you're recruiting a whole bunch of people, we have had somebody who then applied to join the club and then got flagged on something, and we just had a board vote, and we said, thank you very much. You know, you can help support us in many ways, but our 100% focus is youth, and we cannot take the chances with that. Yeah, so two questions.
You
Yes.
mentioned that you had a problem on the background.
No, just
How did you approach them to tell them something?
I had a personal conversation. I was the president of the club at the time, and I said, "Do you want to go out for coffee?" And we sat down. And we are very transparent about what they do, right? And so, he had to have known that it was coming because we were running a background check, and he had something on his background.
But you documented.
Oh yeah. And it's just like, thank you, but there are other organizations that maybe work less directly with you that you could help out with.
We run into it when we do the band going around.
Sure.
People.
The eye screening especially, like in Delaware, you can't even get in the schools now unless you've had a full background check. I think you had a
Well, what I was going to say, if you're talking about in partnership with, and I don't know if this would work logistically, but through my involvement in Little League get full background checks for like a month.
That's not a bad idea.
Okay. And I'll ask my district administrator on the Little League side, can our local Little Leagues partner with organizations like Lions Club? Because you're not going to necessarily be a Little League volunteer.
No.
That's going to be the question I think they're going to have to figure out. But if we can work that out, even if it's $2, it's better than $35.
Hey, if you could save us $33,
Yes.
I'll donate that right back to LCIF.
A lot of organizations have different levels of background checks.
This is a full.
And so I know, like in the
LexisNexis.
school system, typically, if you're gonna go in the school system and you already have background check, they don't care, they have to go through.
Well, to be a Little League volunteer, doesn't matter, you have to go through Little League's background screen.
Right, but what I'm saying is that the school system isn't gonna probably accept that, you're gonna have to go through a different one. So, it just really depends on where you live.
And then the degree you're working with youth, but I'd love to explain anything that can potentially help. That would be awesome. Well, I hope you learned something.
Oh, absolutely.
Great job, Daniel. Thank you.
Thank you much.
Hopefully your email address or something is on, because I'm not gonna ask you to send me something, I'm gonna send you something and ask if you will send me that presentation, because I wanna share it.
Absolutely. And I've left also, both of them now are on your district governor's computer, because I figured that might be, this is all, none of it's, proprietary. Please use it as much as possible. Now, however, if you're going to use that one, take it off because those are my forum slides. I did that at the forum, and they have their branded PowerPoint. Just copy it into a blank one. So, at the beginning it says like, "There's no recording of this."
As far as I know they talk about sending stuff to the state police and stuff. Usually stuff through background check through license.
Well, that's not as long as it's next to right. And that would actually.
Fingerprints are, in fact, Little League has to set up now that we don't even do the application. We used to be in paper application. Now we take your name, put it into the system, it sends you an email, you go in, you put your information in. I don't have to know
Anything
diddly squat
about you.
I don't need your social, nothing. You put it in. Now we get a
Report
back,
Yeah.
right? So.
But that is good. Thank you. Please, let me know about that.
Add that last one to request they give you.
Oh yeah, absolutely, of course.
Because we have a case that's brewing right now.
That's part of it. Yes, absolutely, of course.
Thank you, Daniel. It was very inspiring. I wanted to ask them, is it that all members have to have the background check?
No, it's the ones that are working.
So you can select them.
Well, ultimately it ends up being both because you do so much distribution. It's just, if we are going to have parents trust us with their children, we have to be as professional as possible. So when I say to them, the Lions that work with me have all their background checks, that is a big deal. And it takes a weight off. I mean, you saw those pictures. It is parents who turn over their kids to us, and then they get them 2 or 3 hours later. So the fact that we're in partnership with organizations like the Police Department and the Community Center, and it builds the trust. And then on top of that, it's just a matter of you build a reputation, and they know, like, I'm very careful. I work with some of the kids, so I am never in a room alone. Yeah, I mean, I get, hey, Ryan, Daniel, give me a ride to the Leo meeting. And I said, no, I will get you an Uber, but I can't. As a youth worker, you have to be aware of that stuff. This is
Lions Children's Training Program that we set up system for background check. Where the Lions for $8 gets police and credit background check.
that's cheaper than ours.
We discussed it at convention. We're going to send it out with the only which on the website. And the site here, ask them to send it out.
Well, something came right, but there was no
Got something.